Hello, I'm Pastor Jeremy Combs, and we're going to pause for a proverb. Let's go. Proverbs 3 and verse 16 says, "Length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor." Solomon continues to pound home the reality of the riches of wisdom. Last few verses we've talked about prosperity. Remember, it cannot be overvalued, cannot be undervalued. Now the emphasis switches to the pathway of life. God has a plan and a specific path for you. He's not going to force you to take that wise pathway, but instead, He's going to mark every twist and every turn with directions, warning signs, and signs of encouragement. You think about a road trip where it just seems like you're going on and on and on, and then you see finally that first sign that has the destination of the city. Now, it may still be like 131 miles away, but you see it. Or better yet, you are coming to the conclusion and you see your city name and it says next exit. This is what God does for us. God encourages us on the pathway of wisdom by giving us two promises here in this verse: length of days, that would be a quantity of life, and also riches and honor, which would be a quality of life. Now, wisdom guarantees us a full life. It doesn't necessarily guarantee us a long, lengthy life. Well, again, that's thinking in man's way of thinking. We all have a purpose in life, and no better fullness and quantity of life can we have than to fulfill all that God has for us. But we find that God promises in that quantity to give us a quality, and we're going to read more about that in just a verse coming. But peace and joy and fruitfulness, and that's just scratching the surface on some. Now, the next verse, Proverbs 3 and verse 17 says, "Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace." One of the most difficult challenges in life are those interpersonal relationships. As soon as you breathe your first breath in this world, relationship begins. We all have them. We have parent relationships, sibling relationships, schoolmate relationships, fellow workers, spouses, children, and on we can go. But by far, the greatest relationship we were intended to have is a relationship with God. So do a quick test of yourself today. Label each relationship on a scale from 1 to 10. 1, terrible. 10, couldn't be better. Well, I think an honest assessment would probably at least put even the best of relationships in an 8, 7, 8, 9 category, because there's always room for improvement. You say, how can I make that improvement? Well, right here, Solomon tells us wisdom. Wisdom does it. He promises us pleasantness. This means that we can be agreeable with others, and also can bring delight. Now, here's a question for you. Do people consider you to be delightful? Well, do they consider you to be agreeable? And even when you have those moments where you don't see eye to eye, can you agree to disagree? Wisdom also brings peace. Obviously, peace means that in Hebrew, safe, friendly. Well, are you considered friendly? A man that has friends must show himself friendly. And so wise interpersonal relationships begin right here in the book of Proverbs, and with wisdom. One more verse, and we'll be done, and that is verse 18. "She is a tree of life to them that laid hold upon her, and happy is everyone that retaineth her." You say, tree of life, I've heard that somewhere before. Well, you have. In fact, it's only found 3 times in the Bible. First time, which is probably what you're thinking of, goes all the way back to the book of Genesis in the Garden of Eden. They had the tree of life. Adam and Eve could eat of all of the trees except for one, the knowledge of good and evil. And tree of life evidently was there to give them their life with God. And when they fell, when they took of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they were barred from the garden, and specifically angels were put around the tree of life. We know from the book of Revelation, skipping to reference number 3, we find it in the New Jerusalem. It's planted where all of us can enjoy it for all of eternity. Well, smack dab between Genesis and Revelation, right almost in the middle of the Bible, is the tree of life in Proverbs. And it's a reminder to everyone that if we will lay a hold of the promises of God and by wisdom retain or keep them, this will give us life, and will give us life more abundantly. That sound familiar? Jesus said that. Remember, he said, "I am the door, And if you will enter in, you can have life and you can have it more abundantly. So today, wisdom offers us so much. Will you take it? See you next time.